What's up, chums? Bunny here. So I'm going to be showing you guys a build that I've been using on my Templar, who I just got to Act 3 crawled maybe 20 minutes ago. I would go as far as to say that it's just as strong as my Marauder build, and maybe even a little bit more fun. But before we start, I just want to say that we're going to try out a different format for the guide, and I'm going to be a little bit more thorough, so it could lag on a little bit. Just stay. It'll be worth it. I promise. So in closed beta, I fucked with the Templar a little bit, and I didn't do the typical Wanding Templar at all. I played a Lightning Strike Templar with Tempest Shield, and the biggest thing, and a few auras, but the biggest thing that I had an issue with was I always was mana starved, no matter what. So with this build, I tried to circumvent that shit, and I grab Eldritch Battery as quick as possible. Well, not as quick as possible, but reasonably as quick as possible. And to answer a question that I've seen a lot lately is Eldritch Battery gimp your character for hardcore, and I would say definitely not. As long as you gear the right way and get a shit ton of life, I would say that you'd definitely be fine. I mean, I've been fine so far. Now just to bring up the passive skill tree, just to show you the overall path that I took to get to Eldritch Battery right out of the gate. I diverted a few times, and that was just because I found it completely necessary. Getting Divine Toughness is really, really important, and also this increases your damage quite a bit because, I mean, getting straight intelligence, you're not going to do a ton of damage if you would be going into, say, this area here. And the reason for doing this is just to get Eldritch Battery, or the ability to get Eldritch Battery before the game gets hard, before you actually need more damage, need more survivability. And then just to take a look at what the full build will sort of look like. It's fairly self-explanatory. Just fill in the nodes that you kind of skipped over, getting to Eldritch Battery. Obviously taking preference for survivability. Block's really nice. Also, these two talents are fucking unbelievably good, because you're going to be using a tower shield, not the ceremonial shield. You could also switch some of it up depending upon if you actually need the accuracy rating and dexterity. If you're getting it from gear, then obviously don't take this or this. But that's something like how the build will look, and there'll be a link in the description to this. And honestly, I'll probably just end up putting all this in written form in a Google document and just throwing that in the description. Now to move on to the gems and the gear. I'm not going to list all these off because I'm sure you're able to read them, but the most important thing to grab is obviously Lightning Strike. And I'll have also in the Google document where you can get all these. And you're going to want to end up linking Lightning Strike with Chain, Weapon Elemental damage, melee damage, added fire damage. That's obviously only if you're lucky enough to have a 5 link. The one that you can, if you can't get a 5 link right away, which I'm sure you're not going to be able to, the one you can leave off is melee damage. And honestly, Chain's just a really nice bonus. The other noteworthy thing for a 4 link that's going to be colored 2 reds and 2 blues is you're going to want to throw in reduced mana with Tempest Shield, Determination, and depending on what aura you're using, Discipline or Clarity. And speaking of auras, what this build really allows you to do is use like 5, 6 of them. Right now I'm using 4 and my gear is fucking terrible. So the ones I would say definitely use are Determination, Clarity, obviously. Clarity's the most important. And Wrath and Anger are pretty necessary as well. They're a huge damage boost. The most important thing to know about the auras is that only level them. The 25% and the 40% ones, Determination and, well, Tempest Shield, you can level no matter what. But you really want to be careful with leveling Wrath and Anger, because that could potentially fuck you if you can't support it with your mana pool. So just be careful. I've done it a few times and it's been a mess. But once you progress through and you get better gear and get the points slotted to where they need to be, you'll be able to level everything to the max. So just be careful until that point. As you'll see, this build does give you the ability to fucking use a ton of auras right now. I'm probably going to end up being able to use one more once I level reduced mana more and just get better gear, and that would be Discipline. And with running all these auras, and the ability to give shock stacks with your spell totem and art. Any group should want to have you, or you'll be able to contribute to any group regardless, and you can still do pretty decent damage. And with this build, it kind of gives you the flexibility to switch to whatever aura your group needs. I will say though, this build does do pretty alright on your own, but it really does shine when you're with a group. If anything, I liken this to like a more support guardian from Guild Wars 2. If you're into being a utility type character, this is definitely a build you should try out. Now, just before we wrap everything up, I guess I'll give you guys a quick look at my gear. Now, it's basically all fucking terrible. I mean, I have a blue weapon, and the only reason why I'm using it is that it has kind of alright elemental damage, and it has increased lightning damage and accuracy on it. So it's pretty alright in that sense. The only thing that I'm actually sort of proud of is my shield, which is, it's pretty good. Really high life roll on it, nice increased armor, and pretty good block. And my gloves are pretty alright, but as for everything else, my gear is pretty fucking terrible. I mean, I'm using horrendous boots, horrendous helm. This is pretty bad. It doesn't have life on it, but I needed this specific socket set up to run all the auras. And my belt's also pretty embarrassing as well. So it just goes to show that this build still can be fairly effective, even if your gear isn't that great. And my granite flask helps. Just to finish up here, let me just say thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope this helped you guys out. And for more content like this, subscribe, like, do whatever. I think my girlfriend's going to do a channel now. I don't even know if she has a video up yet, but you know, she might be flopping her tits around or something. She has a pretty alright face. So put a link to her channel in here. But I'll see you guys next time.